All right, thank you for staying with Daybreak. Let's see what you're saying. There's a lot of feedback coming through at Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Daybreak. Let's bring that up on screen, and then I'll get my guests to react to what your feedback is. And Samuel, what says housing levy Kenya is a must. It's unstoppable. Court rulings does not serve the interest of 99% of Kenyans. In fact, judges' house allowances should be scrapped. Okay. Bob Otieno Wino says, if the affordable housing project is a bad thing, why does Raila Odinga ask for dialogue with the government about the same? The opposition chief has started flip-flopping, and he gives President William Ruto credit. Peter Gisare says the housing project ain't bad. The problem is that the due process wasn't followed. The executive should obey court orders. Okay. Getich says the president is not breaking the law by building affordable houses, but he is breaking the law by not honoring the court orders. For example, you are hungry and you rob someone for food. It's not unconstitutional to obtain food, but it is to rob someone. Okay. Lazaro says youth shouldn't blindly support process which strip them their constitutional powers to make decisions on national matters. Public participation is mandatory. How will you own a home in a government land? Okay. Omondi Sam says it's a good idea. I do not object, but will it kill His Excellency President William Ruto to just approach the judiciary and ask them what's the right way to pitch the housing idea? I mean, the judiciary are not against it. They're against the idea being used. Okay. Princess says, ask Kamasi, what if the children are being bullied at school, hence the hesitation to go to school? The father should not use a fist on them. The president currently is an unloving parent. The housing levy is punitive. Okay. J.M. Musoma says the president should stop trivializing matters judiciary. Any Kenyan has a right to file petitions against any unjust laws or government policies that seem to contradict the constitution. Calling members of civil society wakora is unethical. Okay. Wanjiku, I'll come to you to close this conversation. Reaction to what the people have said, and also going forward, how should the judiciary and the executive relate? Because you can see there's also quite a number of things happening. CJ Koome is now under siege. The timing of a petition seeking to the removal of Chief Justice Martha Koome from office in the middle of this vicious fight is what people are reading in between. It's not been done by the executive, it's done by a private petitioner, but it's coming at a time when there's a bit of ice between the judiciary and the executive. How do they thaw these relationships and make it more easy?
First of all, is to just understand that they're working for the people of Kenya. That should be very, very clear. Yeah. That whatever processes, the conversations and negotiations they'll have on the table, it's to put the interest of the Kenyan first. And I have to insist on that. The reason why they existed in the positions of and places of power and decision-making is because they get to serve as Kenyans first. Therefore, in fact, I urge them, every day when you wake up, kindly say a prayer to God and remind you to remove all blind spots they have, and to remind them that every day when I wake up, my work is to serve a Kenyan. Therefore, they should not speak from a point of privilege. They should really abandon the fact that they exist in a point where life is good for them. It's not for a lot of Kenyans. They have to be alive to that. Okay. Number two, it's really unfair to say that the first Chief Justice, that is a woman, having someone already trying to get her out. I mean...
Does that have anything to do with agenda?
I feel maybe not, but we have to give women chances to lead. Men sit on seats that they have done for us with fewer consequences. And a woman, the minute that people are feeling that she's being a hardliner, you already put up a petition for her to be removed. I think we need to give the CJ time to deliver her mandate. She's very merited for that position. Therefore, I think that petition is really unjustified. Okay. So for me, for the judiciary and the executive, they have to really put a way forward for Kenyans. Okay. On matters housing, I'm seeing the president doing his best, but we have to realize that our president is seeing tomorrow. We have to also start seeing tomorrow. I know we have challenges today, but we have to start seeing tomorrow as Kenyans. Okay. For us, you know, Thomas Sankara said, we have to dare to invent the future. It's not easy, but we have to dare to do it. Not just for us, but for people coming after us. Therefore, it's like when you look at a lot of our urban areas, sanitation zote hazikufanywa poa because people are not seeing tomorrow that population will increase. But we have to start doing that. Let's inculcate in our culture that we have to see tomorrow. How can this project help us tomorrow?
Okay.
Yeah.
Mayore, are you seeing a bright future ahead? You know, this is all these issues you're talking about is because of the people your age, the younger generation. That's what all these things are being done for. Are you seeing a brighter future ahead as you tell us how this executive and the judiciary can have a seamless relationship?
Yes, I want to say there's a better future ahead because if you look at Kenya 20 years ago, when we didn't have multi-party democracy, people went and fought for it, and now we have a Kenya that's more free. So I want to believe that we have a better future. The worst thing you can tell a Kenyan or a youth, more so a youth, is to lose hope. Once somebody loses hope, what happens next? So we must keep hope alive. We must keep unity alive. On the matter of the judiciary and the government, no Kenyan, I believe no Kenyan wants to see a situation whereby the previous administration was with the judiciary. The judiciary was strained of finances. They used to even fuel their own cars. No, I believe every Kenyan wants a judiciary that's actually functional and comfortable to work. So when the president say that the judiciary is being bribed by people, then Martha Koome invites him for a meeting, then he offers more funding. It's also technically kind of a bribe if you look at it. But anyway, the judiciary must be funded properly, but it also must be left to work independently.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amasi?
My thinking about judiciary and the executives talking, it's something that is supposed to be open and constructive for any government system to work effectively. Because this opens doors for collaborations and also to understand each other's perspective to this. And if you look at what the president swore during his swearing in, he was very clear. And actually he left there and he went to swear in the judges that the previous president had stopped or had refused to swear them in. That was a good indication that the president respects the independence of the judiciary. And we cannot say that the judiciary and the executive should not talk because of the independence. This definition of independency in our society, sometimes it is taken to extremes, which does not make sense for the current situation in our country. Therefore, this conversation should continue as long as they are open and constructive and NAN's independence is being interfered with.
Okay.
Can I interject a bit?
Yeah.
I want to push out this point that it is important that the judiciary and the executive communicate.
Yeah.
I've not said that they shouldn't, because people think that when you say independence, you mean that they should be left. No. Even the judiciary is also accountable to the people.
Yes.
So it is, yeah. So I say it's important that the executive and judiciary stay on dialogue, but on the principles of rule of law.
Okay.
Actually having harmonious relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Ayodi?
Yes, I agree with my colleagues here that actually the three arms of government should talk so that when one arm is going astray, the other two arms can tell them, this is wrong, this is wrong. The only problem we have is that our deputy president had told us about a corrupt judge. And then out of the talk, we will forget about that topic. So I'm trying to say that let's have serious agendas when the three of them talk, because we all know that some of those judges are corrupt when you use the case study of Justice Jitembwe. So if we have these judges who are corrupt, then it follows that when we go to have such talks with the executive, then most of them are likely not to be prosecuted. And I can say that Martha Koome, in my opinion, is the incompetent CJ we have ever had as a country. Because...
competent or incompetent?
Incompetent.
Okay.
Incompetent. She's the most incompetent, because even the words used to make judgments are not really words you can say to a person. So, like, for example, the ruling of the presidential elections.
So
the
you're
words,
this on pronounced.
I'm not even using that. You see,
yeah.
Who started the judiciary executive talk? It's Martha Koome. What was the problem to start? Why did she start the talk? The president said judges are corrupt, and those corrupt are supposed to be actually uprooted from the judiciary, which is true. Even my friend will agree the corrupt ones should go home. So why do you want a talk where the president says some of these judges are corrupt?
Exactly. Yes. Where is the solution? Where is the solution when the president says some judges are corrupt without mentioning the judges, without reporting the judges to the JSC? In fact, the executive has a representative in the JSC. Why can't the executive or the president use those members in the JSC to put the names of the corrupt judges forward so that they can be prosecuted? Because if the executive and judiciary sit down and talk and agree to work together, so what happens to the corrupt judges?
Yes.
Have we uprooted the problem in the judiciary? Because that's actually the main issue that began this whole scenario.
Okay. Yeah,
I think it's so unfair to come here and confidently quote that CJ Martha Koome is the most incompetent CJ to exist in Kenya. I mean, because of that is such an unfounded statement, number one. Number two, again, I've said we hold women leadership with such a longer yardstick of expectations, unlike the male leadership we've always had in this country.
Okay,
and I haven't even seen any other person being called incompetent in this room from the beginning we began this conversation. But when it reached to CJ Martha Koome, that's when that statement is thrown around. Okay. It's so important to, even in our everyday living, let's also find ways of uplifting the leaders we have in this country. Okay. We can't expect them to be at their best, to always give us our best, but each and every minute, or when you get an opportunity, what we do is just to bash them. Okay. In unfounded. In fact, she hasn't even served for long. Yeah. I haven't even heard him say anything good that the CJ has done.
Okay. Let's be careful about character assassination.
Yes.
Because we are limited by certain rules and regulations. She's not here to defend herself. Let's not talk about characters.
But all we are saying is, okay, we did not argue in perspective of gender.
Yes.
The way, okay, I don't know if I understood that well, but we did not argue in perspective of being a female or not. All we are saying is when an accusation came that some of the judges are corrupt, then we expect some action to be taken. For example, the deputy president had said he will march to the JSC, which I think was a good process, so that these who are corrupt, if you're still in the judiciary, then they will continue receiving bribes. Let them go home. And we have people whose integrity is not questionable to continue, like the president wants. That's when I support him.
Okay. Can I add a comment? Yes. So I agree with my sister, Wanjiku, that the CJ is, I can't say she's incompetent, she needs more time so that we can judge her as Kenyans. Well, she has committed errors, I can agree with that, but she's not incompetent, and we are all human, nobody's perfect. For example, blocking the senior counsel, Ahmed Nasir, from the court, I don't think that is right. That is an error that committed not only by her, but by the whole Supreme Court. So I will say that petition seeking to eject the CJ out is sensationalist. It should be thrown out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amasi?
Yeah, I want to agree with my friend here, because the judiciary has really found itself on a steep road, because
finally we agree on something.
No, we have to agree. We are here to agree.
On judiciary we have agreed.
That is not the most important, because you see, the precedence of blocking Ahmed Nasir Senior Counsel from accessing the judiciary was a bit uncalled for, because, that is like being sensational in addressing issues. And the way my brother here has mentioned it, maybe the person who is filing this removal aspect of the Chief Justice is also doing it sensationally. So we need to remove sensationality from the judiciary, so that we have a judicial system that is solid and objective in delivering justice to the people who go there to seek this particular recourse.
Yeah, so all of us agreeing that her removal is not worth it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And she's not incompetent.
All right.
It's not worth it. We don't want it to proceed.
And that has been clarified. So let's talk about another issue here on the clergy petitioning on LGBTQ. They said no LGBT, a section of religious leaders are petitioning Parliament over the gay agenda. There's a Family Protection Bill 2023 sponsored by Homa Bay Town Member of Parliament Peter Kaluma, which seeks to ban LGBTQ-related activities and campaigns. Is this necessary, Wanjiku? Should we even be having this conversation?
No.
Because many people are saying, what are we doing in people's bedrooms?
You know,
that's the point.
Actually, for me, I think the clergy are the most pretentious people we have in this country. Why do they pick and choose on which matters they will speak on? I didn't see even one press conference or a statement they removed regarding femicide. You will find them on the abortion issue, they are at the front line. So yes, they are pro-life, but they are no longer pro-life when it comes to women's lives in Kenya. Huh? Aren't women's lives a matter? A nation matter? It's so funny that they come and pick and choose what they want to speak on. Like, pick a side. If you want to speak about matters in Kenya, speak on every matter. And now they're going to speak about LGBTQ. Fine. Human rights is not a pie that we get to distribute. It's for everyone. And for them, again, if they're pro-life, they have to protect all lives. They don't get to choose which life to protect or not.
Okay.
You protect the women, you protect the LGBTQ community, you protect the men, protect everyone in Kenya. You have to choose, and they have to be as radical as Jesus Christ was. And this is why, as a young woman, I say I'm spiritual, because when you say you are religious, you see the clergy gets to choose matters, but you can't do that. If you're human rights defenders, and the clergy actually should be human rights defenders, you have to go all out for everyone. Everyone. So you don't get to choose who has right to life and who doesn't. Everybody has right to life. Therefore, the clergy can stop being pretentious and start giving us press statements about LGBTQ. They don't care about life. No. If they did not even speak for 1 minute. In fact, in January, we had over 21 women killed. And over just only 15% were strangers. The rest were intimate partners to these women. Yet the church was silent. They didn't even know whispers from them, nothing whatsoever. And I saw a very sensational pastor going live or in his church, which is attended by so many people, go to victim blame women. It is so simple. No violence to women. I mean, we are not saying we want to be equal to men, because men are not the SI units of humanity. It's not. What we want to be is to be free from violence. Okay. Can the church actually put that out? That's a challenge I'm giving to them. And we expect, as women in Kenya, we expect the church to speak. And what are the women in church leadership positions doing? Why aren't they agitating the male leadership to push out a statement? Okay. Actually, I'm challenging these women. We have sisters doing very well in Catholic churches. We have women in Protestant and every other side, even in the Muslim community. We need to see them coming out for women in Kenya. Because right now, as we speak, we understand that the church is not for human rights. Okay. It's not for everyone. They get to pick and choose, and you can't pick and choose. Okay. Yes.
Mayora, is this a conversation we should have? Because many people are saying that the moral fabric of the society is continuously being deteriorated by Western cultures.
Yes, we should have this conversation, because if we don't have this conversation, Western culture will take over our country. So we must sit down as a country, each country. There's values that guide a particular country. You go to a country and they say that this is the way of life. This is how we've chosen. Majority of the population has chosen to live this way. I remember the former president, His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, was asked the same question in a foreign media house, and he answered very well. He said that as of now, these are not matters that are priority to Kenyans. Kenyans want food. Kenyans, until we reach a point whereby every Kenyan has access to electricity, every Kenyan has access to education, access to water, then we can begin having such conversations. But right now, our priorities are different. We are racing against time to give this generation a better life and the future generation.
Yeah.
So the LGBTQ issue, it's not an issue that should be prioritized in Kenya. I don't think so.
Many people are arguing that was then and now activities are happening. In fact, the clergy are saying that there is a well-choreographed and well-financed plan to fight laws prohibiting homosexuality by persons purporting to represent the rights of the LGBT community. So in as much as we say it's not a priority, it is a conversation that's happening. So should we stop it?
No, we shouldn't stop it. We should actually, every side must be heard. Both sides must be heard so that we reach to a conclusive decision on this matter. We decide where we want to go on this matter. Yes, I agree with the clergy. There is a Western funding of the agenda of the LGBTQ. That's why you hear people come out say, well, I'm gay. People just come and say that because there is money in it. It's activism business. They never used to come out of the closet. Why can't they stay in the closet? Have they been in the closet for all these years? Let them stay. But they're coming out right now because there is money involved in it. There is incentives. There is also, what can I call, grooming. There is grooming of people into that awkward.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it's a conversation we should have.
Yeah. So if we don't have it, the Western culture will take over.
Okay.
Because there's money and money has power. We have to agree that.
Okay. Nita?
Trevor, I want to shift from the thoughts of my colleagues here and say this. You know, we are in the 21st century and we are just a quarter way into it. And the challenges that we are facing right now that are emerging are enormous. And I wouldn't blame anyone. I'll just say that we are in a very tricky situation as a generation, because if you look around, these 21st century challenges have brought in a lot of dynamics. One, the parenting dynamic. You realize that in the current state right now, Trevor, you find a parent working from Monday to Saturday. They spend little time with their children. Almost 10 hours or 24 hours for the whole week. So what do you expect to happen? These kids will interact with the social spaces through technology. And you just heard, it was so sad to lose the life of this lady who was brutally murdered in TRM area. Because if you look at the story, this lady met the person over a social media platform. That is technology.
Yeah.
And you see, these are the emerging trends or issues that we are having in the 21st century. And trust you me, they are not here to go. We're just 25 years into this space. And the challenges are going to be enormous. The only thing that probably what we need to do is both the private and the public sector should come in strongly and bring in the psycho-social support mechanisms in working areas, in working environments, so that we can have a conversation where parents are let go to go and have discussions with the kids. Trevor, you work from 8 to 5. You get home at 7. Your child leaves at 6, gets back at 4 or 5. When you're back, the child is asleep. What time do you have? Let us not transfer the blame to, I don't know, priests, I don't know, clergy, I don't know, this government agency did not do this, I don't know this. No. These are challenges that both public and private sector needs to come together and address it strongly, because without that, we are going to have a big challenge in the 21st century.
So you think this is about parenting? We're back to that father of viewers who wants children.
Yes, it is about parenting, and the drivers of the modern parent right now is one, investment and upward building. What do I mean by upward building? The fact that we are driven by either jobs or wealth. The fact of concentrating on parenting has been eroded completely in our society. And that is where we are seeing all these challenges left, right, and center. So to address all these things, we need to come together, both public and the private sector, to see how best we can help the society from these particular challenges in the 21st century.
All right. Ayodi?
Yeah, I believe that in as much as I am a supporter of a nuclear family foundation, I agree with what he has said, that most families these days, nuclear families, have issues, because if someone is working from morning to evening, on Friday some of them prefer to go to club than have time with children, then these children are going to use internet to learn many things. And as a country, we have many problems that clergies and people shouldn't be going on a microphone to speak against LGBTQ when we have many things like femicide that we should be condemning. So you see, when we make it legal, it doesn't make any difference, because we know that thing is still there. So when we just legalize, put it in law, it's not really making a lot of difference, because if someone decides to love their same-sex person, then it is okay. You see, like right now, marijuana is illegal, but people are still smoking, right? There was a time Mira was actually illegal, but it was illegalized. I mean, it was illegal, but it was legalized. But have we seen any big difference between then and now? There's no difference. So I believe that if there's a need to have a law to make these people get their rights in whichever way they want, then let them get the law. Because I don't see how personally as Kelvin, the LGBTQ community will affect me. So as long as it's not affecting me and my right, let them also have their right.
Okay.
Kevin, it could affect you, because one day you're a parent.
Newton also shaking his head.
You're a parent, right?
Yes, I'm a parent.
What happens if your son comes and tell you, Dad, I like guys?
But I cannot control if they want to be. You know that. That I cannot force them. You must not.
And you cannot disown your own children.
Yes, you cannot disown, and you cannot force them to take that stage. I mean, that step. So once they take the step, you just have to support them.
Yeah, what will you do to your child?
Yes.
Of course, I can't disown my child. I will have to accept my child. But
yes.
How did my child get to that point? It could be the child was groomed. And that's why these Western foundations and these corporations are investing money in the project. They're not investing this money so that gay people have rights. They're investing so that you normalize it, so that it spreads. Very soon you're going to be invited to subgroups of wedding of
same gender.
Yes, okay. You are raising money for, yeah. It has become normal if you're not careful. You get. Yeah. So every country has values. I'm not against the LGBTQ, but they also values as a country that a country must abide by. That's the point I'm trying to make. But on the matter of killing the LGBTQ people, no, I disagree with it, because the Constitution protects the life of everyone. It doesn't recognize morals of people. But we have to, one way or another, try to protect our society from being infiltrated by Western agenda.
So let's have a more direct question, Wanjiku. Should LGBTQ activities be banned in Kenya?
Why? Why should they? They're Kenyans. We need to really have, I don't think the clergy, let me say that, because they're the ones at the forefront, have had a sit down. We have to have a dialogue, because you can't always castigate, demonize people you've never had a sit down with. It's a time for the religious group to have a sit down with the LGBTQ community, so that they can have dialogue and be able to understand each other. Because they're Kenyans, and it's their right to live and belong to Kenya, freedom of worship, freedom of belonging to a community. It is theirs. So it's about time that we stop hiding our heads in the sand, pretend that this is not ongoing, that there is no community that exists in Kenya, but now for real and in reality, to sit down and have a dialogue with them and make way forward. But always condemning people who have their human rights is really unfair. And they have to find, why can't they be radical as Jesus Christ? He was. He sat with the tax collectors, with the commercial sex workers. He came to them. Can the church go to this community as well? We have to have harmonious relationships in Kenya. Yeah. And this is how we are going to control hate in Kenya. We are going to control the rate of killings, because we've had also LGBTQ community also being killed, which is just like us feminists on the femicide issue. We don't want women to be killed. Therefore, there has to be a dialogue between the two communities. The way we've had the NADCO, the way us as women were fighting for the multi-sector working group, even them, we have to move forward.
But what does that mean for the society going forward? The moral fabric of the society, what this nation is really built upon. We are not saying even now there's still criminals. I'm not saying that anyone, I'm not equating anyone to any criminal. I'm just saying that there are criminal activities that are outlawed. It doesn't mean we accept them. So if we decide to accept a certain trajectory of thoughts, what happens to the moral fabric of the society? What happens to the future of the generation? If we make this a normal conversation, what happens?
It's interesting when you say moral fabric. So what's moral fabric? I mean, we entertain people going nude on social media. We entertain people going on TikTok. And I know we've seen TikTok at night, how crazy it looks like.
Are we entertaining it, or it's happening?
It's happening.
Despite the people not liking it. But there's a difference. So if we now allow...
But people like that content, Trevor.
If we say now that, okay, you're now completely allowed to go nude on social media.
Yes.
There's a big difference.
It's not allowed.
It is wrong right now.
It is.
Yeah. It's
actually, you know...
If you allow it now, then that opens the Pandora's box. You get what I'm trying to say? That
yes.
Despite the fact that things are happening, doesn't necessarily mean you allow them to happen.
You know, Trevor, whether we like it or not, the community has existed forever.
True.
So even if in your own community, if you go and try and dig deep, they will tell you, these people existed. Women were allowed to marry each other. You know, those are the most uncomfortable things that we don't want to face. If we start going back to our culture, our heritage, you start realizing these people existed. It's just that we've never had, you know, it's right now that they're sort of having the courage to come out. Maybe also because of the killings, so they have to come out to really protect and defend themselves. Yeah. But the church has to sit down, have a dialogue with them, and make a way forward. Because always banning them, and they feel it's unfair because I'm a Kenyan and it's my right. We have to now start sitting and having dialogues with them. So now the work of the clergy is going to disseminate the information that will come out from the dialogue. Like, this is the way forward that we've decided as sketch. This is what you are going to do. But having to throw words, even not having a sit down with them, is honestly unfair.
Okay, Mayore, should the activities be banned, or should they just be free fall? Or should we just not talk about this? You know, there's also the Kenyans who just prefer to bury their heads in the sand. Like, let's pretend this is not happening.
And that's not a solution. We can't bury our head in the sand. We have to talk. As I said before, everyone must be heard. We must hear opinions of everyone, even those we don't like. We have to develop a culture of tolerance as a nation. But as a Kenyan, I'm asking myself, how am I going to interpret a situation whereby, for example, the court gave the LGBTQ rights to register their body or union or something, but the act itself, it's illegal in our law. So how is a Kenyan supposed to interpret that? It's like saying, Mungiki, it's a banned group. Then you give Mungiki the right to register their own association. So you get what I'm saying? So we must go back to the law first and address, is it illegal or legal to give these people their rights? That is the question, the big question the country must have. But as for me, I'm saying each country has their own value system. Yeah. We cannot wish that away. There's a way we've lived, and we must have the conversation even of those who oppose. Because it's coming out as the anti-LGBTQ people are hateful or deceitful, so much contempt for other people, but maybe they don't understand. As Wanjiku said, we should have the conversation. But first of all, the most important thing is tolerance. And I'm open to listening to every person's opinion, including the LGBTQ people. And like I said before, everyone has the right to life. Okay. Everyone has the right to freedom, but still, there are values that a nation abides by.
Okay. Newton, should we just take a hardline stance?
You know, Trevor, it has been always my thought and my dream that as a country, we need to have authoritarian leadership. Because to me, democracy doesn't make sense to some point. honestly speaking, there's no child who is born knowing about LGBTQ. These are things that are taught to them, or they are recruited in that particular space.
Exactly.
And we have to face it head on. And as a leadership of this country, I believe the president has made himself known. His thoughts have been clearly known where he stands with this thing of LGBTQ. And what we are saying is this: LGBTQ should not be allowed. That one, I'll be hard on it because it is a fact. These are not traits that a child is born with. These are traits that are inherited, one, or two, they are traits that they are recruited into this particular space of LGBTQ. And that is why I said, in this 21st century, we need to have more present parents, because as these parents, they did not get these children through LGBTQ. That is a fact. And then on the other thing of being firm as a country, you know, Trevor, the father of democracy, Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, has never been the president of this republic for the last 25 or 30 years. It is not to say that democracy is not good, but if you look at developed countries, democracy has made those countries fall. But those countries that have authoritarian leadership, look at Singapore, look at China, look at the United Kingdom. You want to tell me if the United Kingdom people were told to vote for King Charles, they'll vote for him? I'm not saying they might not, but will they vote for him? So what we need to do as a country is to have an authoritarian leader who will do things that are better for this country. Not things to please people, not things to make other people feel like they are being worshipped or something, but to ensure that as a country, we spur the economic growth that is required.
Better by whose standards?
Yes.
Again,
By whose standards? Because that's where the rubber meets the road now.
It is not by whose standards, eh? You know, it is...
Who decides that this is the best thing for this country?
What's
the leader.
On his own?
Yes.
What about the people? If the people don't want it?
The people voted for him.
or can we put
So if they voted for him, he needs to implement things as they are. Because you see...
Yeah. Had my father loved some other male figure, I wouldn't be here this morning. Yeah, that is to mean that some of these things, if we allow them, then we are going to affect our nuclear families, procreation, we are going to affect that. Because if I have to come on media here and defend the LGBTQ, what exactly will I tell people so that they see, actually, this is a good thing? Now, leave alone rights. We want to say that the benefits. But I can tell you, we need you to have offspring so that when you are not there, someone else comes here to continue with these shows, because there's a time we won't be there. So what we are saying is that I'll agree with my friend here. That is why I trust my president. I know he will not fail. That we don't need that. Hapo tuambie tupende tusipende, I agree with that.
You know, the one thing that both the opposition leader and the president agree on is the LGBTQ issue. They actually had the same stand where they some time back I
trust my president on that.
Exactly. Because he knows he will lose votes. If we actually were to put this issue to a referendum, how do you think the results will come? Maybe actually we should do that.
We cannot even imagine going that.
Yeah, we should actually put it to a referendum and then let the country decide. And then we say that this is where the country has decided to go. Instead of having this one say that, this one say that, let's actually have a referendum on the issue, and actually the country decides, and we say this is the final position of the country. I don't know if it's too radical, but maybe sometimes radical thought is actually the solution. You know, Sankara actually once said, maybe Africa should not pay the debts it owes to foreign nations.
Yeah.
There's a time actually said that. And he said, he asked the people in Burkina Faso, what's the worst they will do if we decide not to pay? They can't kill us all. After all, the countries have looted Africa through colonization. Why should Africa be the one to pay them back debts? Exactly. So sometimes radical thought. In fact, youth should get to a point to be radical. Every youth should be taught. I'm even done with this talk of civil education. I think we now need to go to a level of political education.
Yes.
We should go to the MTAs and talk to the guys in the MTAs and everything about politics, because these people end up voting without having information, and that's how we end up with bad leaders.
But the people with the information don't actually vote.
Yeah.
All they do is do a lot of upheaval on social media and expect and leave the decision to the person on the ground who most of the time doesn't have access to the kind of information we have. You know, we have collectively as a country.
Yeah.
It's every Kenyan's job to take Kenya forward. You know, we have this habit of when it comes to voting, we leave the responsibility to someone else. And the minute we've sworn in someone, we've started impeachments, we've started saying the president this, the president that, you start asking who voted in this president. What was your role? We have to now, it's individual. And I remember Honorable Tundu Lissu challenged me and said, you know, Anjiko, you're complaining a lot, but I say I'm complaining because I take part in the political process in Kenya. But the young people, in fact, when you talk to young people, hata hawana kura. Hawana. Yeah. But they want to access bursary. They want the government to pay, but they don't want to take part in choosing the leaders of this country. We leave the decisions to our parents who wake up and choose Wamatagi, Wamatiga, Wamashukuru, Wamake. You know, people who just say, you know me, I will be identified because I donate tanks. I don't want someone who donates tanks for me. Because I look at some leaders who represent me, and some haven't even spoken in parliament, not even once, where resources are being distributed. Back at home, we have bad roads. They can't even go to parliament and speak on that issue. We as the very informed young people, we have to start taking our role very seriously. Because now young people are on social media every day complaining, but you don't want to go out and choose leaders. We had really, really great young people running for office. Young people who understood their role, but they can't come out and support their fellow young person. I'm okay na tu unauza manifesto. Na it's young people, umechapa manifesto yako safi, mate makata imeisha kwa mdomo, and then that young person will ask you, sawa umeniachia nini?
Choma jeshi.
Sasa nikuchome aje, nitatoa nini ya kuchoma? Mi nimesha kuchoma na kukupatia manifesto yangu. You have to understand what I'm going to do for you in parliament. That's what I'm trying to do. Okay. But we elect these you know, politicians who come 2 weeks to the elections. Their work is just handing out money and then they go. And young people, whether they'll show up or vote or not, they're expecting this person at Kenda Bunga and enda kuwafighter. This person understand it's my money who got me there, not you. Okay. So for us, it has to be a collective responsibility for all of us. Okay. Yeah.
Now we've already started getting into the final comments that I wanted to give each and every one of you just 2 minutes closing remarks. Yes. And I'll start with you, Newton. The young people watching this show today, what do you want them to hear from you? What are your closing remarks?
What I want to tell the young people is simple. One, as the president said, get outside there and get busy. Because nothing is going to find you in your location. You have to go find it. Take opportunities that the government has focused on building employment, especially in the housing project. Go in those particular projects, get employed there, get something to do, and work and execute your mandate fully. So that at the end of the day, the country is proud of you as a hard-working citizen. The president is determined, whatever it will take, he is going to ensure that the young people of this country get millions of jobs, both locally and internationally. And just on the flip side, just to finish, is I've been listening to him, the senator for Nairobi, focusing on national matters that involve the president. I want to give him a small piece of advice. Kindly focus on Nairobi County, because Nairobi County has a lot of problems and opportunities. And instead of focusing there as an oversight elected leader, you are focusing on the projects that the president is doing to empower the young people of this country. Kindly desist from attacking the president and focus on your role as the senator of Nairobi. Okay. Thank you.
Ayodi, closing remarks.
First of all, let me start with his last statement about the senator. The president categorically said that they want a very strong opposition, and that is exactly what Sifuna is doing. They want a strong opposition, so we shouldn't be complaining when Sifuna comes here and attack the president. Now, about the young people, make sure that at least you learn a skill. You make sure that a day doesn't go without you learning something new, because there is nobody who will come to your door and tell you take this one, I'm giving you this money. No, you have to get out there, make sure that there is something you're doing with your hands. As the president said that he's going out there to look for job opportunities for us in foreign countries. So when the president goes out there, try to come to the internet and find out what did the president bring back to the country? What can I do to earn? It's not just sitting there and saying there's no employment, the president has not hired us. No, he has tried his best. He cannot come to your house and give you something. Not even if someone else was the president, no one would come to your house to give you a job opportunity. Get out and look for something to do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mayore?
Okay, first let me talk about both the government and the opposition. The government cannot continue with the notion of dynasty and hustler. I cannot fathom seeing the president going to rallies and say, oh, those people, because they are dynasties, they're trying to shut us down. No, you use that narrative in the campaign. We elected you, now you have the power, we've given you all the tools. He even has the sword. He said he's going to use the sword, right? So the government cannot go on that notion anymore. It's expired. They need to start working for the manifesto they campaigned on. There's a lot in that manifesto they haven't even begun. For example, the state capture inquiry, that's one of the pointers that many Kenyans voted for that government, including myself. And voting for this government does not mean you cannot criticize this government. Because there's this notion, if you vote for this government, then if you criticize it, you're told to shut up. That's not right. If I criticize a government that I voted for, it is me keeping that government to account. It's actually me as a citizen showing the highest level of responsibility of my vote. Now to the opposition. The opposition needs to strategize. You know, they have big people, they have well-experienced political career people. I want to say career politicians. They're playing catch-up. They're always playing catch-up. And if they continue doing that until 2027, they will be beaten. This time they'll be beaten even properly. They need to go back to the drawing board and start doing the role well as the opposition. There are many things in this country that are going right, and they're sleeping on it. For example, why is it that it's the Third Way Alliance that I'm a part of that challenged the Haiti issue? Yet there is the opposition, which was given 6 million votes. 6 million Kenyans trusted their vote to the opposition.
5.8 million.
Okay, yes, the numbers doesn't matter, but anyway, they have supporters.
President 7. The president got 7.2, then Raila 6.6.
Anyway, they do have supporters, but why is it that it is other people, civil society, and other groups that are saying, oh, this thing is illegal, let's go to the court. They have able lawyers in the Azimio coalition. There is Otiende Molo, there is Orengo, there is Sifuna. Why can't they organize and take part in keeping the government in check? Playing catch-up won't help them. Okay. In fact, we'll take over the opposition role and send them home to oblivion.
Trevor.
Yes,
before she speaks, I have to answer something.
Trevor.
The government...
You already made your closing remarks.
After me,
Wanjiku, closing remarks.
Thank you. For me, I would like to encourage the government to remain very connected to Kenyans.
Yeah.
Be very alive to the plight of Kenyans, the dignity of Kenyans. We voted you in so that you can uplift our lives, make things better for Kenyans. Therefore, it's so important to remain alive to what the Kenyans' issues are going on, and please address them. Continue addressing them, because Kenyans will continue being bitter with their decisions. Yet they believed in the leaders they chose, and they believed in their manifesto. For the opposition, I appreciate the work they are doing, but for a young person like Honorable Sifuna, I would also want to encourage him to also give young people hope. Yeah, please also give young people hope, because if all you do is sell doom, young people are sitting down and thinking, until 2027, my life is going to be just doom. And that's why we are seeing highest rates of suicide. So even if we are criticizing the government and making things look so bad, also be alive that people don't, there are people like him, he's salaried, deserving all the privileges. But there are young people who are seated listening to him. So if they feel like all I have is doom, then I don't, that's why even young people want just to leave the country. And I want to say that the opposition sometimes is funny. For us young people in Kiambu, we actually sued our governor. because of certain things that we didn't see right. Like, for example, he had a revenue collecting system that hadn't gone through public participation. It's our right as young people who are keeping the government accountable to challenge and say, hey, this is wrong, and we are watching you. You see, when we went to court, it was Atendo Molo's firm that was representing the governor in court. And do you know what they told us as young people? That you are busybodies. How can you discourage young people like that? You know, you are allowed to defend your client, but don't come and discourage young people. Yet on national TV, you're busy hitting the government and busy saying young people are...
Is it still an active case?
Yes, it is.
Then you might not want to talk about it.
No.
Because it's sub judice.
Yes,
Thank you so much.
All right.
For the opportunity, and for me to tell young people to continue keeping the government abreast and on its toes.
Okay.
For us, we are the present and the future.
All right. Thank you so much for making time. Wanjiku Thiga, Gender Justice Advocate, Alex Mayore, Communications Director, Third Way Alliance, Newton Amasi, Leadership and Governance Expert, and Kevin Ayodi, Political Commentator, Santeni Sana for, that is the Youth Baraza, where the young people speak about the issues that they see and the issues that they think are more important to them. All right, we're taking a quick break now. When you come back now, Roy T-Boy is on the decks and Bensu, right? Yes. Bye for now. A fantastic weekend ahead. My name is Trevor Mbija. God bless.